Okay, good morning, Eden. So today's heard is Chaf Av, the 20th of Av, the Yartzeit of the Rebbe's father, by Levi Yitzchok Scheensohn, the Kabbalist, the Tzaddik, and so on and so forth. We had occasion in the past to talk about his history. You can check it out on our YouTube channel. We have quite a few videos about his story. But as per the Rebbe's instruction, actually a personal request, that on the day of his Yartzeit, we learn something of his teaching.
Finish with the curses.
That we closed that up today, yeah. We closed that up yesterday, last comment, yeah. So today we're going to look at a comment from Rebbe's father related to the Sotah, since we're learning Sotah. Now, very brief introduction. First of all, what we have from Rebbe's father in terms of his teachings, he wrote apparently very prolifically. According to the accounts of his arrested by the Soviets for his counter-revolutionary activities, keeping Yiddishkeit alive in his city in Dnipropetrovsk, the big Jewish metropolis, and the surrounding areas. So according to the accounts of his arrest, they cleared out his house of all his manuscripts. So either they burned them or it's somewhere in the Lenin library somewhere, or who knows where. At any rate, so none of that's left of his original writing. All we have left is two things. One, most of the writings we have is things he wrote in the margins of books while he was in exile. Famous story, his wife voluntarily exiled herself with him. And he was sentenced to exile by the communists. And she collected berries, made ink for him. And he wrote in the margins of books that were available to him. You can see the display of those in the Rebbe's library in New York, the Central Chabad Library. You can see the originals. You could see on this margins like, green text and blue text and purple and orange based on the berries that were available to her. So it's quite fascinating. And even now, we don't have all of it. We only have, when after her husband died, she came back from exile to Moscow and then eventually exited in 1946 with the Alshins, with the fake Polish passport. She came out to Paris. So when she came from exile to Moscow, she didn't want to keep all the books with her. That would raise suspicion. If she got arrested, she would lose all of that. So she gave the books to various different people, entrusting them with different books. And only those who made it out with those books do we have their copies. Otherwise, they've been left in Moscow. For example, we know, and I know this because of family, that my great-grandfather's brother was one of the people who she entrusted with a copy of Midrash, a copy of the Midrash with Rebbe's father's commentary on the side. My great-grandfather's brother never made it out of Russia. Neither did his books. The Rebbe reached out to my great-uncle, someone else first, and then my great-uncle, to see if he can track it down. My great-uncle did. He tried tracking it down. At least he went to here and there. He went to Moscow, and he discovered that it was placed in a synagogue nearby his house. It was collected by the synagogue there after he was arrested. The synagogue took, after he left or something happened, they took the books from his house and it was in the synagogue. So it must have, if you want to go to Moscow, go from shul to shul, go through the old Geniza, maybe you can find it somewhere. But anyway, we don't have much left, and that's what we have. The other writings we have from Rebbe's father is letters. Letters he wrote mostly to his son, to the Rebbe, who was living at the time in Paris, or Berlin or Paris. And in these letters, father and son would exchange Torah ideas. So what we're learning here is one small section of one such letter. So before we get to the letter itself, let's look at a Mishnah in Tractate Yoma. I'm reading in the English there, and you have the copy. I'll point out the Hebrew words that are necessary to the text. So the high priest Ben Katin made 12 spigots from the basin so that several priests could sanctify their hands and feet at once, as previously the basin had only two, right? There's a wash basin in the entrance to the temple for the priests to wash their hands and feet as required before they begin the service. So the high priest Ben Katin made 12 of them. He also made a machine, a mechuni, for sinking the basin into flowing water during the night, so that its water would not be disqualified by remaining overnight. Yes. Right? We don't have water open overnight. So you had a whole system, a whole pulley system for the basin to go underwater, get covered, to go underground, and pull back up, and he can get fresh water every day. It was a whole complex.
If we have a cover, we can have it over.
Yes, if you have it covered, it's no problem. But he had a whole system. There's like a river that would flow under. Was water that would flow under the temple. It was used for washing the temple, all kinds of things. The whole aqueduct system, and he had a pulley system for the basin to lower onto the ground to that flowing water. So had the water remained in the basin overnight, it would be necessary to pour it out the following morning. By immersing the basin in flowing water, the water inside remained fit for use the next morning. Okay. King Munbaz would contribute the funds required to make the handles of all the Yom Kippur vessels of gold. Here's the section we're going to be discussing. Queen Helene, his mother of King Munbaz, fashioned a decorative gold chandelier above the entrance of the sanctuary. And that chandelier was used to, where is the commenter here? Get Rashi. Was used to determine when it was time to say Shema. It'll probably be here. No, it doesn't say. Just translates as a candelabrum. Was used. Where is it? Maybe my monitors have it.
Above the entrance of the sanctuary.
That's right. That chandelier was used to determine. Yeah, you can see in Rambam here. Oops. What was that? Sorry, I don't know what happened there. Pull it up again. Yeah. Oh, why does it keep doing that? I don't know why it does it. Sorry. I will not highlight the words again. When the sun would shine at that chandelier, it was designed in such a way that the beginning sunlight would sparkle at it right at the beginning, and that would indicate that the sun had come above the horizon and it's time to say Shema. So it's this uniquely designed chandelier. Okay, so that's what the Queen Helene did. She also fashioned a gold tablet on which the Torah portion reading the Sotah was written. The tablet could be utilized to copy this Torah portion, so that Torah scroll need not be taken out for that purpose, right? We know from our Sotah law that you have to write the text. The Torah describes, right? The Torah describes, and you shall give this curse and write these words on a text and put them into water to erase it. And you have to write the exact words as it says in the Torah, right? That's what we're discussing in the Sotah now. This idea that it has to remain in the original Hebrew, at least for the text, not for the verbalization, but the text written on the page that's then erased in the water which the Sotah drinks. So initially, in order to make sure you get the text right, you can take out the Torah and copy it word for word. And she said, not nice. So she made this golden, beautiful tablet, which had the text, I guess, embossed on it, and that was used to copy the Sotah. So she made these two things: a golden chandelier for the Shema, and the second thing was this golden tablet. Yeah. And with regard to Nicanor, miracles were performed to his doors, right? The famous gates of Nicanor. They came by boat. One fell over water, and miraculously, one fell overboard, and miraculously that door made it to shore on its own. You know the story? The story, famous story of Talmud. King Nicanor wanted to donate two doors, big doors, massive, huge doors. I think of bronze, right? Were made and they were shipped to Jerusalem. One of the boats fell overboard. One of the doors fell overboard, and miraculously it washed up on shore just on time. Whole miraculous story. Anyway, this is what it's referring to. Okay, so now Rabbi Levi Yitzchok, in his letter, goes through all the details of this passage and explains every detail, why they're linked to each other. And as you heard from the rabbi this morning, Rebbe's father's style of learning was not just to talk about what's being said, but also who's saying it and why they specifically said it and how it all links in. So he would talk about why it was King Munbaz who made the handles, why it was a Ben Katin who made 12 spigots and not any other spigots, why his name was Katin, how the name Katin connects to the spigots, how the name Munbaz connects to the handles of Yom Kippur. And here what we're going to look at is why the mother, Helene, is the one making a golden chandelier and a golden tablet for Sotah. What's the connection between chandelier and Sotah? The chandelier being for Shema and the Sotah law. They're both made of gold and both made by the same person. So what's the spiritual connection between these two things? That's what we're going to be learning. Even though Rabbi Levi goes on to connect it to what's stated before about Ben Katin and what's stated after about Nicanor, we're not going to do that. We're just going to look at these two items and why they are both said by Helene, the mother. Mother of the king being King Munbaz. She got an interesting history. People liked her. Helene? Yeah, I don't want to say anything that I'm not 100% sure about, but I know that I'm quite sure there's a conversion somewhere in this story. You can Google it. She's a unique feature, unique queen mother. Yeah, to the best of my knowledge, yeah. We can click on this. Oh, no definition found for King Munbaz. Anything for Queen Helene here? No, it usually it does that. It opens up on the side telling us something, but there's no thing. Anyway, okay. So let's see. Last two words on the first page of the next text, the next page there, Rabbi Levi Yitzchok's letter. Vashaychus da beis dvarim, the connection between the two things. The nivareshet zal zahav, the chandelier of gold, laid out to know is man kriyish by the time of Shema. The tabla shel zahav, and the tablet of gold, the parsha Sotah for the Sotah. So first of all, what's the connection between these two things? The gold chandelier for Shema, and the golden tablet for gold, the golden tablet for the Sotah. Who the reason is ki b'kriya Shema, in Shema, hu prinas echad. We're declaring oneness, God's oneness, right? That's what we're doing in the Shema. Hear, O Israel, God is Lord, God is one. Now, what's the oneness we are declaring Kabbalistically? This is Yichud Zun. The unification of Zun is comprised of two words, Za and Nukva. Nukva, the second word, means the feminine. That is Malchus. Za, which itself is an acronym for Ze'er Ampin, the small face. This is the unification between the small face, Za, and the feminine. What is this? So very briefly, in Kabbalah, as is in literal life, all production, all birthing is produced by the union of male and female. That's, literally, physically, that's how all life emerges. Whether we're talking about humans, animals, or even trees. The seed, the male, has to go into the earth, the female, and then produce. That's all of life. The same thing is true Kabbalistically. In order for there to be the production of life, divine creation, it's by the male, Za, giving energy to the female, Nukva, or Malchus, and that way to produce life. Yeah? The analogy Hasidus uses to explain this model is the analogy of feelings and speech. Speech, capacity for speech, which is Malchus, which is the feminine. The capacity for speech itself does not have any content. It doesn't have any content. The capacity for speech is anything. You could be saying silly things, you could be saying smart things, you could be saying loving things, you could be saying hate things. It depends on what content is put into it by my feelings. So it's the union of my feelings, that is Za, with my capacity to speak, that's Malchus, that's Nukva, that then produces the words I say. Yeah? Yeah? Okay, let's look at it for later because I don't want to lose focus of where we are here. Yeah, if you don't mind, just wait. We'll look it up after. Thank you. So life then is produced by this union of the male and the female. Spiritually, Za, the divine emotions, with Malchus, the female, the capacity for speech, the creation outside. So the Echad, the oneness we're declaring in Shema, as we're going to see in a minute, the word Echad, which means one, divided into two halves, Aleph and Ches, and Dalet. The Aleph and Ches presents Zah, the masculine, and the Dalet represents Malchus, the feminine. And the union of the two produce life. Yeah. So, Echad, therefore, the union is Sha'isha Einamay Elas Babaila. The feminine, the woman, does not violate, is not unfaithful to her husband. Malchus is not going to project any content that isn't directly given to it by her faithful husband, by Zah. So this is when there's a proper union, so to speak, is that the feminine is only receiving and therefore producing life only from her husband, from her designated husband. Right? That's the Sotah is the opposite of that. The Sotah is someone who is receiving potential life from another male, and if potentially producing corrupt life. Right? But if she's receiving not who she's supposed to receive, she produces good life. So if Malchus is properly unified with Zah, so Malchus being the production, the feminine, that which produces life, that catalyst for divine energy to create, if it only receives from the proper divine energy as it's supposed to be given, then life goes well. That's the union of Echad. That's the Shema. The opposite of that is Sotah, the Sotah woman, Shekafar Babaila, who is unfaithful to her husband. And there's the connection between the chandelier that tells us when Shema is and the golden tablet for Sotah, because they're like the inverse of each other. The Shema is the protection against the Sotah. The Shema, the proper union of the male and female, is protection against the Sotah, which is an improper relationship between male and female. Following? Okay. So where does it come from? Who made these two? Who made the two golden tablets? Who's providing the protection that there should not be a Sotah? Or let's say the Sotah law is itself a protection against. Right? The Sotah law itself is to tell us that there either was or wasn't an unfaithful relationship, right? The Sotah law is to protect this union between man and woman, which is represented in the Shema, the male and female in the spiritual realms, to create life. So who does that protection? This is the queen mother. Bina, the sphere of Bina, explain in a moment, is Ha'ain, the mother, that's represented by Helene, the queen. She is what protects the womb, which is Malchus. That should not have any negative consequence and negative production. So to explain a little bit. So we have in Kabbalah, we talk about this, the union of male and female to produce life. We only describe the lower union of male and female, Zah and Malchus, which the parallel in the human experience is the emotions and speech. So my emotions properly unify with my speech, they provide proper content, and then I produce words out to the world. But then there is a higher union internally of male and female to produce life, but internal life. That's the union of male and female that produces my emotions to begin with. So I describe the emotions that exist, that's the male content, into my capacity to speak, the female recipient, and then production of life, the words that come out. But then the production of the emotions themselves come from a deeper union of male and female. That is Chachma and Bina. Chachma the male, Bina the female. How's that? Chachma is the idea, it's a seed, put into the recipient the analysis of Bina, that's the female, which can extrapolate from that little seed a full-blown idea. Just like physically, female takes a tiny seed and then extrapolates a whole human. The earth, the female, receives a seed from the tree and produces a whole tree out of it, right? So the words, my feminine, receive the seed, my feeling, and produce words out to the world outside. So the idea, the seed of Chachma, goes into the feminine Bina, the analysis, which produces the whole idea in my head, and that's what gives birth to my emotions, right? So there's two unions of male-female to produce life. First, Chachma Bina to produce the attributes, and then attributes and Malchus, attributes and speech to produce the world outside. Now, in order for the production going outside, the words I say, the life created, to not be corrupted, you need to have, or you must have the protection of the original analysis of Bina. Now, let's use the example of the human experience. How do I make sure that my emotions don't run amok and that I don't say things I regret later when I'm feeling emotional? and I want to say what I'm feeling, right? I'm making that union of male and female. My emotions are there. The content is there. I'm putting it into words and I'm about to say it outside, but it can be completely and very corrupt. In order to do that, in order to make sure it doesn't get corrupted, I have to go back to my bina, back to my analysis that created that emotion and say, well, when is it correct and when is it incorrect? I have to go back to bina. I have to go back to the mother that produced that emotion and say, well, where's the right way to go? And that's the protection against negative production. And the emotions, the attributes themselves are not a good enough protection against bad content, bad creation, bad production. It could completely run amok. I have to go higher. I have to go to bina. I have to go to analysis to say, ooh, you're making a mistake in how you're talking now. Don't say that. Or say it a different way.
So self-awareness.
Self-awareness. That's bina.
Moment.
So therefore, bina, again, we said, is the mother that produces the emotions. So it's the queen mother, Helene, who creates the protection against malchus, the Sotah woman, from misbehaving. That's why she's the one that produces the golden chandelier and the golden tablets, which serve as both of them, the golden chandelier for Shema, which is the proper union of male and female in the word echad, and the Sotah tablet, which is to protect against the Sotah is about to make a mischaracterized union of male and female. That's all protected by the queen mother, the bina, the analysis that says stay in check in how you're producing.
So,
How cool is that?
so
Right?
Malchus is the end point.
That's right. Malchus is the endpoint of production.
So isn't Das the end point of production?
Okay, that's the endpoint of production between bina and emotions. So you're right. That serves as a kind of malchus between the intelligence and the emotions. That's all internal. It's not external yet. Malchus is the endpoint because it's the first external production. Right? So Chochmah, bina, and then through das is the internal production that produce emotions. And then Zah, the emotions, and malchus, the speech, is the production going outward. So to protect the production going outward, I have to dig back into the bina, into the analysis. That's why it's the mother, which is parallel to malchus, that creates the gold shema and the gold Sotah, which protects against bad production of the feminine, of the recipient that has a wrongful union, protect against the wrongful union. Clear? Very cool. So explains. Ki yadu, as is well known, be'inyan ha'chaysamos, this is a Kabbalistic notion, chaysamos, the seals, sheberechem, that's in the womb, the feminine production point, that it doesn't misappropriate in its production. Malchus of malchus, which is the ability for production. Shein the bina, that protection comes from bina, from the analysis, from the mother. That's why she's the one creating this system that's going to fix, making a golden tablets for the Sotah, which is there to protect against the woman who's potentially misappropriating. Okay, there's still more. Shaisha pagmachais meisah. The Sotah woman is what's the word? She's defiled the protection walls. She's stepped outside the bounds. She's spoken words that are inappropriate. She's going to a male counterpart that's a wrongful union. So you have to have the Sotah law. You have to have the mother. You have to have bina to protect. Right now, the chaysamais. Here we get some numerology. The chaysamais, the protection element of the feminine dimension, the malchus, which comes from bina, the analysis, that's connected to mishem ehya, the name of God, which is known as ehya, where God says, I am that I am. When the word God uses is ehya. That's a name, it's a kind of name of God, even though it translates as I am, that I am, that's ehya ashaya, it means I am, that's a name of God. That name of God is associated with bina. Ehya is connected to bina. I am. Now this name, ehya, can be spelled out in many different ways to explain what I mean. When you take a word and you take all of its letters, each letter itself becomes a word, right? So the letter Aleph is also a word, the word being Aleph, Aleph Lamed Fei. Right? The letter Hey is also a word, but that word Hey can be spelled in three different ways. Hey, two Heys make the word Hey. Hey Yud makes the word Hey, and Hey Aleph makes the word Hey. Yud, again, is a full word. Yud, Vav, Yud. And then the last letter of the name, Ehya, is again a Hey. So it's Hey Aleph, or Hey Yud. Now, when you spell it out that way, Aleph Lamed Fe for Aleph, Hey Hey, Yud Vav Dalet for Yud, and then again Hey Hey, you get one number. If you spell the if you spell the letter Hey with Hey Aleph, you get a lower number because Hey Aleph is only 6, not Hey Hey, which is 10. If you spell it Hey Yud, you get a higher number because Hey Yud is 15. So, Sheyesh Bo Gimel Miluyin, you have 3 ways in which you can fully spell out the word Hey, Eya, I am, that name Eya, I am. We spell that in 3 different ways, right? Aleph, Hey, Yud, Hey, but you can spell the Heys in 3 different ways. And those reach to 3 different numbers. Kuf Samach Aleph, 161. Kuf Mem Gimel, 143. Or Kuf Nun Aleph, 151. 3 different numbers. You can do the math later. Now, Vim Eya Pashut. Now add all these 3 together. Okay, 161 plus 146 plus 151. How much do you have? Let's do it again. 161 plus 143 is how much?
2.
So it's 2, and then the 6 and the 4 is another 10. So you have 3. You have 303, right? 303. No, sorry, 304 because it's Aleph and Gimel. So you have 304. Now add 151. 455. 455. 455. Yes, with me? Okay. Now take the name Eya without it's being spelled out. Yeah, you want to take it out to the calendar? Take out the calculator. So start again. 161.
161.
Yeah. Plus 143. Plus 151.
455.
What did we say?
453.
We said 53. Okay, I missed 2 there. I missed 2 olives. Sorry, yeah. Okay, so it's 455. Good. Now add to that the name Eya not spelled out. So Eya is 1, 5, 10, and 1. That is 17. Plus 17.
472.
It should be 476. Im Eya Pashut, Misbar Tov Ayin Vav. It should be 476. How much do you have there?
472.
I'm missing 4. I'm missing 4. So again, 161. Yeah, let's do it again.
161 plus
Yeah, plus 143. Plus 151. Yeah. Plus 17. Oh, okay, I know what it is. Yes. Oh, what we're missing is you have to count each of the words as a number itself. You have 4 ayahs. You have ayah not spelled out at all, and you have ayah spelled out 3 different ways. That itself is 4. That's how you get to 466. It's imakolo. Okay, 476.
Yeah.
Now, in Cain, if so, Bezech Hasamas, you have to have there's 2 blocks, there's 2 protections. There's like 2 seals that close the womb, protecting it from misappropriation, protecting the female from misappropriation. There's 2. Yeah. Now, if so, you have, and these protection come from the word Eya. Eya spelled out in its max in all 4 different ways is 476. So if you have 2 protective elements, that's 2 times 476, and you have what? Okay. This is Misbar Nivareset. That is the same numerical value as the word Nivareset, which is the word that's used for the chandelier of the Shema. Nivareset, right, is 50. Known as 50 plus 2, that's 52, plus Resh is 200, 252, plus Shin, that's 300, that's 552, plus 400 is 952, which is twice 476, each 476 being the full spell out of the name Eya, which is Bina, from which comes the protective elements against the misappropriation of the Sotah. And thus the chandelier, the Nivareset, for Shema is the protection against the Sotah element. The Shema itself being the protection against the Sotah element, because Shema is the proper union, Echad, the oneness, as opposed to the.
We doubled it just because.
We doubled 476 because, as explained in Kabbalah, there are the protective wall against the misappropriation of the womb is from two sides. It's two, so it's double. Why it's two is because of Chesed and Gevurah, whatever. Right now, the word Nevareset itself, Shapirusha, the meaning of the word Nevareset, which translates to chandelier, comes from two words: Navar Shes. Navar Shes. Now, who this is, Sheprinas Shes, the second half of the word, the second letter Shes, is Yisoid Dinukva. That is representative of the feminine dimension. The word Shes is the feminine dimension. Why is Shes the feminine dimension? Because Shes comes to the world like flowing water, which is what the feminine reproductive organ is in that kind of vein. So it's the feminine production system is represented in the word Shes, in this liquid thing. Okay. What does the word Navar mean? Navar means like innocent or pure. So who Navar Vizach? So Nivareset means Navar Shes, the purification of the feminine dimension, which is again this protective element that the feminine recipient only receive from the appropriate husband. The union in Echad, the two protective things which come from Bina, which is the full number of the word Nivareset. So see how the name Nivareset, the number Nivareset, which is the chandelier, and what it does, which is the Shema, tell us when Shema is. All of that is connected to the Sotah, which is the next thing she provided, and that it protects the misappropriation of the male and female union. Now, how does the chandelier tell us when Shema is? When the light shines it, when the sun shines in it. The sun shining in it also represents the same idea. The sun shining on the chandelier, who inyan hayichud, is also about this unification. The chandelier being the recipient, the light, the sun being the zah, the giver, the male, is again this union. So the light shining on the chandelier itself, the name of the chandelier, the number of the chandelier, all indicates the same idea of the protecting the mistake, protecting the misappropriation of the male-female union. And all comes from the Queen Mother, who is Bina, which is again connected to the name of Nevareset, the number of the word Nevareset, right? So Meir P'nei Shem HaShavaya, the sun is the like the verse calls the light, the Son of God, the Son S-U-N of God, the light of God, which is Zav, the male component, the production, bin Nevareset, into the chandelier, the Malchus, the recipient. The Echad, which is the same thing as the union of Shema Echad, which is what this chandelier shining is teaching us. Aleph Ches and Dalid, the first two letters of the word Echad, Aleph Ches, which is Zah, the sun, the production, the male, into Dalid, the feminine, the Malchus, the Sotah who is being protected. Final. Yeah. Yes, we're almost done here. There's still more. Now, what does she make for the Sotah? She makes a tablet. Now, the Parsha Sotah, for the Sotah, Nikra Tabla. It's called a tablet. The tablet is called tabla. Shepirushan, the meaning is tav loy, good, it's not. Hepech, the exact opposite of Nevareset. Nevareset, we said before earlier, is Navar Shes, cleansing the feminine. And here is tav loy, it's not good. The feminine is not being good. So in this Sotah, we're creating a tablet because she wasn't good. The Nevareset is that correction mechanism, the Shema, the Bina coming to protect that the Sotah doesn't make that mistake, so she doesn't become not good. V'hu, and this is the word Tavla, Mispar Beis Pamim Eya Pashut. The word Eya, without the full spell out of Aleph, Hey, Yud, Aleph, is just the word Eya without any spell out, is, we said 17. 17 times 2 is how much? Sorry? 34. How do we get to 34?
17 times 2.
17 times 2. Shechasa, base pomim, choisem, ayin, hey. How do we get to 75 though?
So,
Oh, sorry. The word eya pashut, the word eya simply, which is 17, Shechoser habeis palm chaysim ayin hey. It's lacking the two protections, and therefore it's 75. How do we get to 75? Why? 1 second. Tabla itself is 31 plus 11 is how much? Plus 11 is 42. Hmm. 17 times 2 was what again? 34. This is Levi assets. Mispar base payim eya pashat 17. Shechoser base pamim chaysim ayin hey. How's that done? We'll check. Maybe this guy has it here. Found somewhere here.
Didn't we add 1 point for the word itself?
Yeah, but that still doesn't get us to the number we want, does it? Still not enough. How do we get that? Hold on a second. 1 second. No, it doesn't give us an explanation here. Tabla is right. Tes vase, that's 11, plus lamed, that's 41. Wait, no, no, 1 second. Tabla is 42, right? And twice aya is 1, 5, that's 6, 10, and that's 7. Oh, it's not 17. Aya is not 17. That's why I got it wrong before also. A is not Aleph, Hey, Yud, Aleph. It's Aleph, Hey, Yud, Hey. So it's 1, 6, 16, 17. 17 times. That's where the missing 4 was before. The missing 4 was before wasn't 1 for each letter. The missing 4 was because A is another 4 that I missed. The word A is missing. I missed 4 in A because I kept spelling Ella. I did the calculation of 17 because Aleph, Hey, Yud, Aleph. But it's not. It's Aleph, Hey, Yud, Hey, making it not 17. It's 1 plus 5 at 6 plus 10, 16 plus 5 is 21. 21 times 2 is 42. Right? So it's 42, and so tabla is twice aya. Aya is 42, right? Aya times 2 is 42. Tabla is how much? 40. Tabla was 11 plus 31, 42. Right? 9 and 2 is 11, plus 30 is 41, plus 1 is 42. That's right. And that's why, because it's lacking the full protection of Aya. It's only Aya in the small number. It doesn't have the full protection of Aya, and that's the Sotah who messed up, and that's why that's the number for the tablet. See that? Did I miss something? Based on Aya Pashut. Shechaser habeis pa'amim chaysim makala. Yeah. Okay, so there's a little teaching from Rabbi Levi about the Sotah law and how the union of Shema is the corrective measure for the Sotah, proper union of male female, represented the negative relationship represented by the tablet in all of its numbers, and the positive relationship represented by the chandelier in all of its numbers and its name and what it does, and that the sun shines on it in the morning to say Shema. Hope your mind was as blown as mine was.
Just a letter between father and son.
Just a letter between father and son, yeah, exactly. And only five lines of like a long letter. Complete side note, by the way. This is really a side note. This is only in the middle, because then he goes on to explain how this connects to Nicanor, which is the next statement in the Mishnah, and how it connects to the previous statement of King Humzi with the spigots. All of it interlinks. Okay, Yidden. Have a wonderful day.